Hey everybody, welcome back to this podcast. This is A Better Way with Kersten Kimura podcast, and I am your host, Kersten Kimura, as you may have guessed already. So today we're going to talk a little bit more about metabolism. Okay, of course we talk about this topic a lot on this podcast, but I want to talk about it from a little bit different angle. Not only what it looks like if you have slow metabolic rate or low metabolism, also what it feels like. And also in the second half of the podcast, I'm going to give you advice if you are dealing with this. And the advice is actually going to be similar to those who are higher weight or lower weight. It doesn't really matter. If you have a slow, sluggish metabolism, you still have to do similar things. We get to all of these things today. But before that, I wanted to remind you that we do have Fat Loss Challenge happening in our Facebook group. So starting January 8th in my Fit and Fuel Facebook group, we're doing a 3-week fat loss challenge. So this is 21 days starting January 8th. And during this time, we're going to lay the foundation for your fat loss. Now, what you should not expect, what's not going to go down in this Facebook group and during this challenge is something crazy like a celery juice cleanse or carb cutting or any sort of hardcore restriction or calories super low just so that we can get you quick results. If you listen to my last podcast, you know that this is not what I'm doing at all. But what we are doing in this challenge is laying a foundation for a really successful fat loss. And this is important. It is important to have that right, because without this foundation, you cannot build a strong house. You just can't. So we have to get these things right. Every week, we have something that we do together in this Facebook group to move you towards your fat loss. And these are the healthy things. These are things you have to do, and they're important for your health and also for your body composition. So if you want to join, please do it. It's a completely free challenge. Last time I did something similar in June 2023. It was really successful. People were really active posting in the group, and I hope to see the same thing this time too. So please, please, please join the challenge. You can find the link to my Facebook group in the show notes, and you can also find the application that you have to fill out if you want to participate. So also, it is important that you are on Facebook. If you are not, then unfortunately, you cannot do it anywhere else. This is not an Instagram challenge. This is not a podcast challenge. This is only in my Facebook group. So please join. If you're not on Facebook, just create a simple account. Nobody has to know who you are, but you have to be inside of this group to do it. Okay, so I hope to see you there. Now, let's then talk about metabolism and slow metabolism and also what it feels like. First thing I want to say that it's important that we understand what metabolism is, right? And to put it simply, metabolism is the process in the body where your body uses the food and turns it into energy, right? Converts it into energy. And now, if you have slow metabolism, this conversion of your food into energy is slower. It doesn't happen as well. And you're going to get certain signs and symptoms that are telling you that, okay, we are dealing with slow metabolic rate. We have talked about it a lot, what causes these things. I've done so many episodes, and you already know the foundations if you have been listening to this podcast for a while. For example, doing lots of diets that always, where you always eat less and less and less, that will definitely slow down your metabolic rate. Also, if you're very sedentary, if you don't lift weights at all, these things definitely make your metabolism slow. But also, I feel like a lot of people think that they know exactly what a person with slow metabolism looks like. And they assume that this person has to be super overweight or really obese. And we can kind of assume that this person has a slow metabolic rate. But let me tell you, this is not always the truth. And the person who is not, you look at her and she's not out of shape, she's not overweight or obese. Also, that person can have slow and sluggish metabolism. So, like I said, metabolism is the process by which your body turns food into energy, and this process can be slow regardless of your weight. So, of course, we do know that if you have slow metabolism, a lot of those people actually do have weight loss resistance, right? Because the body just doesn't want to let go of anything. So yes, there are definitely people out there who are heavier or who are obese, and they do have slow metabolic rate, but this is not everybody. Like I said, you can have somebody relatively normal weight. You look at them and they look totally fine and healthy and okay, and they can have slow metabolism too. So what are then some of the signs? So let's talk about it. Like what does it feel like if you have slow metabolic rate? Because there's certain things that you cannot tell externally by just looking at the person? Well, one of the things is that if you're always tired, right? Remember, again, I think I'll say this third time, the process by which your body turns food into energy. So if this process is really slow, you're always going to feel sluggish and slow. And you wake up in the morning, you're like, ugh, right? I have no energy. And during the day too, you hardly ever have energy. You're just pretty lethargic and fatigued. So this is definitely one of the things that can tell you that, okay, your metabolic rate might be on the lower side. The second thing is that if you have constant cravings, right? Now, especially if you want sugary foods and salty foods, your body wants things that have quick energy, right? This is what it's craving for because the energy is so low because your body doesn't convert food into energy very well. So just feel like you need to snack on something. And carby, sugary, fatty things really taste good, right? This is what you naturally gravitate towards. Your slow metabolism, you probably don't think like, oh, I'm gonna eat like this chicken breast. You're more like, I want like some snacks and carbs and chocolate and stuff like that, because this is where your body knows it's gonna get the quickest energy, right? So if you have a lot of these cravings, that can also be a sign of slow and sluggish metabolism. Now, not everybody gives into them, right? It may not be that you always eat them when you get a craving. Some people do, some people don't, but just that their presence, if you do have these cravings and they're different from hunger, the difference between cravings and hunger. Cravings are, I must have this right now, or I'm gonna kill somebody. And hunger is more like that comes on slowly and it's like true belly hunger. They are two different things. So if you get a lot of cravings, then it can be a sign of slow metabolism. The next thing is bloating. And if you have a lot of undigested food in your system, if you don't have enough stomach acid enzymes to break down foods and absorb them, of course, that's going to slow down this conversion food into energy. And that's why you may have a lot of constipation, just feeling really bloated and uncomfortable. Absolutely can be a sign of slow metabolism as well. The next thing is dry skin. So some of the hormones that determine your metabolic rate also regulate your hydration. So you have to pay attention to that. So see if your skin is constantly dry, and if it is, that can be another sign that your metabolic rate is on the lower side. And one thing that is very common is that your body temperature is low, right? So you're always cold, especially hands and feet are cold, the tip of your nose is cold, and your body temperature is low. And of course, it is a little different in the winter time. It may be hard to kind of differentiate, like, oh, is it just the cold weather and it's cold inside, or am I like abnormally cold? So it can be a little bit harder to tell. But I think you can still tell, like, based on, see what other people are wearing. Are they warm? If everybody else in your house is warm and you like need to have need warm temperature, you have to have more clothes on all the time, then there's a good chance that maybe your metabolic rate is actually low. And there's something that you have to do there to get the body temperature back up, because this is not normal. Like, why are you so cold all the time? And I know I had this definitely all the time when I was really underweight for my body, and I was always cold no matter what the weather was like. I was always wearing long sleeves and long pants while everybody else didn't. So I definitely remember that really well. And of course, always being tired, thinking about food often because I had all these cravings. So these are definitely, I did have very slow and sluggish metabolism, but I was not overweight, right? I was far from that. So all these signs are here to show you that you can have this problem of slow metabolism, low metabolic rate, even if you're not obese or overweight. Okay. So what do we have to do to start raising your metabolic rate? Well, of course, we have to eat regularly. You probably already know this. We have to definitely start our day with a breakfast, and within an hour from waking up, this is what I recommend. And during the day, having more frequent meals. So I definitely don't like to see like only 2 meals a day. It's going to be very hard to get all the nutrients that you need, and you need a lot of nutrition. If you have slow and sluggish metabolism, you want to make sure that you have a good balanced plate of proteins, carbs, and fats at every meal. Or if you don't have full meal every time, then you have a snack, but you still want to keep it relatively balanced. You want to have good variety of food, right? You want to definitely reduce your stress. You want to work on that. not be so hyper all the time. Just relax more, sit down, deep belly breathing might be really helpful. Also, some of the things related to movement, what we have to do is take walks, move our bodies frequently, and also lift weights. Okay. So, everybody, I think most everybody who don't have any health issues going on that would prevent them should really lift weights. And this is a fantastic way to speed up your metabolic rate. But now, when I'm talking about eating, right, I mentioned that I want you to eat breakfast. I want you to eat at least 3 times a day. For most people with really slow metabolism, I want them to eat actually more often than that. And eating more variety and not restrict their calories hardcore. Now, somebody who is in a larger body might say that, okay, it makes sense for that person that you were talking about who is maybe thinner and still has a slow metabolism. I understand now that this is possible. So that thin person, of course, like she can afford to eat breakfast and eat like 4 or 5 meals and eat a normal amount of calories. But I, as a larger person with slower metabolic rate, cannot afford to do it because I am already too big or overweight or obese. And this is actually incorrect. You have to do the same things. So it doesn't matter if you are 250 pounds or 150 pounds. If your metabolic rate is super low for some reason, right? Let's say that you have done a lot of dieting, which is the most common thing, then you still have to do the same things, right? It doesn't matter that one person is bigger, one person is smaller. You still have to bring your body back to balance. And bringing your body back to balance doesn't happen by cutting a lot of calories or going on restricted diet. It also doesn't happen by eating only 1 or 2 meals a day. I know the logic might tell you that if you're a bigger person, that I should be eating less. I should be avoiding breakfast. I should have like these really, really small portions and eat just twice a day. But no, this will actually slow things down even further. So I hope you understand that if the problem of your slow metabolism happens because you are not eating enough and you're starving yourself and you're eating only a few meals a day, then reducing that even further cannot turn things around. You have to do the opposite. Now, it really is important to understand how to increase your metabolic rate and do it correctly, right? So that we don't start eating like tons of calories more the next day and eat without any control and eat whatever, right? This is not what it means at all. If you actually do it the right way, which is increasing your calories very gradually, adding little by little, adding variety little by little, then you may actually find that your the metabolic healing is going to be a very pleasant progress, and it doesn't have to even come with weight gain. Sometimes it does happen a little bit. You may put on a little bit of weight, and sometimes it doesn't happen at all. Again, like you heard in the interview that I did with Greta, she also said that she did gain a little bit of weight, but she had to gain that weight. So some people they do gain a little bit, but others don't gain anything at all. But it doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter where you are right now. If you're a larger person, smaller person, if you have this really slow metabolic rate and it's often caused by under eating, then you still have to increase your calories. And some people will gain a little bit and some people will not. But this is really the only way to speed up the metabolic rate. Now, what most people want to do eventually is to lose some body fat, right? And you have to understand that it doesn't happen without speeding your metabolism up first. You cannot lose weight, at least not sustainably and not really well at all, if you try to do it from the place where your metabolism is super slow, right? Like I described before, you have all these symptoms, always tired, always craving something, you're very bloated, your skin is dry, and your body temperature is low, then from this place it's a really, really difficult thing to start even cutting down calories, which are pretty much, guaranteed that they're low already. So if you cut even more, you are making things worse, and you don't want to do this. So what you want to do is to speed your metabolism up, feed your body, give it some healthy nutrition, and then later on you can start cutting down. But yes, coming back to this point, like what's my body weight, does this approach depend on that or not? No, because I have people who are uh, you know who weigh maybe 120 pounds and they are doing metabolic healing and reverse diet. And I do have people who are 100 pounds heavier and do the same thing, and they might be even eating similar calories. And I understand this is so upside down for a lot of people, because the common logic says that if you're a large person, you have to eat less. If you're a too small person, like let's say too lean, you have to eat more. But the truth for this, in this case, if these people both have slow metabolic rate, which is very easy for me as a coach to determine if this is the case or not. But let's say that both of these people do have a slow metabolic rate, then the only way to heal this is to go upwards. And you cannot be afraid of it. You can't be afraid of it. You have to be okay with it. You have to trust the process, and you have to trust your coach too when she tells you that this is what needs to be done. Because if you wait and wait and wait, then it's not going to get better on its own. You have to heal it. You have to be very determined with it, and you have to do the things correctly, stay disciplined, and not get afraid if you put on a little bit of maybe a 1 or 2 pounds or something like that. You have to follow through, because you can't continue living with these health problems. Like I mentioned, nobody wants to be always tired. Nobody wants to have dry skin. Nobody wants to be thinking about food all the time and having these cravings and bloatings. You don't want that. And also, it doesn't usually look very good. So if you're able to heal these things about your body, and that happens by increasing your nutrition and eating more good quality nutrition, these things will heal. Generally speaking, they will heal, unless there's something like big underlying going on that you need like special, gut specialist or something like that. But usually these people heal really well. Their metabolic rate goes up, and they're going to be a lot healthier. And after that, they're ready to start cutting down the calories. Now, if you're thinking about, what are some of the things that I should do in 2024? Let's say that I heal my body and then I'm going to go on diet. And what are some of the things that I should then cut down or eliminate or whatever? Well, there's so many people out there with so much different information, right? Some people could be saying like leave out all the meat, and others all the eggs and all dairy and grains and sugar and vegetables even. Yes, there are people who even say that. And I saw yesterday somebody on Instagram who literally was talking like did like a long video about how terrible broccoli is for somebody's health. So I think people can get very, very extreme with this, but it's unnecessary. And I think if you're trying to like kick out certain foods, you're going to end up in the same place where you try so hard and you diet so hard, and you're going to slow your metabolic rate down again. So I'll say, if you eventually go into a cut after healing your body, what you want to do is still keep a good variety of foods in your diet, in your nutritional habits, but you're just going to reduce them. That's literally the difference, right? So I don't think that there should be like any super extreme approach, like anything should be eliminated completely. I just don't think that this is sustainable for a lot of people. So why would you do that? Just reduce when it's time to go into cut, just reduce the things that you're eating before, and you're going to lose the weight. But your metabolism has to be healed at first. And it's just wanted to mention that it does feel feel uncomfortable to have this low metabolic rate. It's not really only about the looks, and you cannot assume looking at somebody what their metabolic rate is. Is it high? Is it low? What is like? It's a lot more also about like what's going on internally. What is this person experiencing? What's the body temperature, skin, hair, all that? All these things actually tell you a lot about your metabolic rate, and if you need that healing, or if you're already doing really well. So I hope this podcast episode today was helpful for you. Let me know if you learned something from it. And if you find this podcast helpful, please share it with your friends or family and anybody who you might think could find this podcast useful. Also, don't forget that we are doing our Fat Loss Challenge in our Facebook group, and you can find all the information in the show notes. All right. Thanks so much for being here today. Take care.